It's the age of jackets and bubblies, ladies and gentlemen. Go grab you some sparkling water. Okay. There's a lot of talk about the last chapter, chapter 1056 of One Piece. A lot of crazy stuff happened, and today we're going to be talking about the Cross Guild, okay? But I have to be honest with you, I haven't seen anybody on YouTube, not a single person, talking about the things that really matter about the Cross Guild, Everyone's talking about who's a member of the Cross Guild, how did Buggy and Mihawk and Crocodile meet and everything. And look, we're going to tackle those questions too. They are fascinating, I guess. But there's more pressing issues to deal with, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, here's one right away. How do you join the Cross Guild? Is there an interview process? I would love to know because I want to have an application to fill it out. Like, is it a job application? You just show up? Because I would imagine Crocodile and Mihawk, they would not just accept anybody in. You know what I mean? Like, Buggy's delivery service was a little different because Buggy was filled with so much bluster and bravado that he was just like, yeah, just more and more numbers. That's all he needs. You know what I mean? Like, some random person shows up to Kalibali Island and he's like, hey there, Buggy, I would love to join. And it's like, what's your experience or whatever? It's like, well, I don't have any experience being a pirate. In fact, I was never a pirate. I was just some dude that wandered on a ship and I ended up here. But I would love to join. Buggy would have accepted that guy no matter what. He'd be like, whatever. Here's a sword. Have fun. Come and join the party, But I just feel like Crocodile and Mihawk and some other members of the Cross Guild, they would have a little bit more of a process, a little bit more of a standard. They wouldn't just accept anybody, and they also have to make sure to vet people coming in to make sure they're not double agents for the Marines or the world government, or you don't want any cipher pole agents getting into your organization, because that's happened before and it didn't end well. You know what I mean? So I want to know, there's an application process. How do they get the applications to the world? Do they okay, we're holding auditions for the Cross Guild on our secret base of an island. Do they have a secret base? Do they have a break room? That's another question. Vending machines, what does the break room look like? Is there a microwave? Is there a refrigerator? You know what I mean? Is there health insurance? That's kind of important. Is there a 401k? Is there a retirement plan? These are the questions I want to know about this organization, okay? Oh my God. All right. So now, yeah, seriously. I think the biggest one though is, how do you join? If you were interested in joining the Cross Guild, they can't exactly just advertise that okay, we're on this island at this point in the new world, because, the Marines would probably just buster call it out of existence. So there's got to be a secret way to get into the Cross Guild or whatever. But now let's talk about in general how exactly this might have worked in the timeline, okay? Because last time we saw Buggy, he was at Kalibali, he was living it up as a warlord. Then the Marines showed up. I believe it was Vice Admiral Stainless, the dude with the nice suit and the mustache and the sword. He doesn't have a devil fruit power or anything, but he is a Vice Admiral of the Marines, so he would easily know hockey, at least, entry-level observation and armament hockey, right? So, in other words, if it was Stainless versus Buggy in a straight-up fight, well, I don't know, because Stainless only has the sword and Buggy has the Barabara no Mi, which, as we've shown, might even be strong enough to, work enough so it avoids hockey if you separate quick enough. Buggy's always really good at quick escapes. He's a clown. He's an escape artist, so it is. So, I don't know. I mean, in terms of, Stainless could just armament hockey up his fist and punch him, and that would probably do enough damage to knock Buggy down, but who knows, right? Anyway, Buggy somehow managed to escape that. I'm assuming he probably just threw most of the members of the Buggy's delivery service at Stainless to distract them long enough, because that's sort of the impression we got. Buggy was out there and he's like, how dare you Marines? You make me a warlord and now you just take the title away? We're gonna give them hell, men! And everyone's like, Captain Buggy! We'll die for you! And they take out the swords and they charge, and Buggy's like, I'll be right behind you, men! Alright, Alvida, Galdino, Mochi, Kabaji, Richie, grab the shit. We're getting out of here, and they go into their secret tunnel, into their speedboat, and they make a Batman 1960s Adam West series-esque escape. It would have been fantastic to witness, you know what I mean? They get the hell out of Dodge, right? Okay. So, meanwhile, you have Crocodile and, we'll get to Mihawk in a second. You have Crocodile somewhere in the New World, okay? We've only seen Crocodile very briefly, periodically, But Oda makes it very clear that every single time a major event occurs in the world that makes the newspaper, especially something that involves the Straw Hats, Crocodile's keeping up to speed, okay? I believe we saw a brief glimpse of him after Dressrosa, after Luffy defeated Doflamingo, and that news spread around the world. I believe we saw, Crocodile reading about that. We also learned, of course, after he got his bounty after Whole Cake Island, after the 1.5 million, we saw, 1.5 billion. We saw Crocodile in a fancy hotel somewhere reading the newspaper, just kind of smirking, So Oda's like, yeah, keep an eye on Crocodile. He's not going to be doing anything major quite yet, but he's in the background doing something. And whenever Crocodile does anything, you should probably be afraid, okay? So I like to think Crocodile, he's a very methodical kind of individual, all right? He was rather hot-headed in his younger days where, he witnessed Roger's execution at Logtown all those years ago, 24 years ago, and then he decided, I'm going to go out to sea and I'm going to become king of the pirates. I'm going to find the One Piece. I'm going to be the next, the next king. And so he heads out to sea. He probably gets his Logia relatively early, the Sunasuna no Mi. He probably just dominates the first half of the Grand Line fairly easily with his powers of sand, just to dry out everybody. Then he gets to the New World. Then he gets above himself. He starts in the same way that Peckham said, Logias that think they're invincible have short lifespans in the New World, right? So as we saw that with Caribou, it was probably a similar vein with Crocodile. Remember, Crocodile was back in his early 20s at this point, early to mid 20s, so he wasn't really, he didn't really know about how big the world could get, and so he runs into Whitebeard, and he tries to kill Whitebeard, and then Whitebeard beats the shit out of him, okay? Most likely probably the moment where he lost his hand, okay? So at that point, Crocodile decided, all right, I tried to just, bulldoze my way into the New World and, get the One Piece, find Laugh Tale. That did not work out so well. So instead, I'm going to do the long game here. And so for probably the next 10 years of his life, because by the time we meet Crocodile during Alabasta, he's in his 40s, okay? So probably 10, 15 years after Whitebeard, actually, I can tell you exactly when that happened. That was 13 years ago that happened. Because when we got the flashback with Law, which was 13 years ago, when we got the flashback with Law and Corazon, when Law stabbed Corazon at the junkyard, remember that scene? Corazon was reading a newspaper, and that article was in the newspaper of Crocodile attacking Whitebeard. That's the kind of crap Oda does, ladies and gentlemen. You got to pay attention to newspaper articles, right? Okay. So that was 13 years ago, okay? So, let's just take, it took about 10 years. He took about 10 years to build up Baroque works, okay? And he's like, okay, I got to defeat Whitebeard in the Yonko. How am I going to do that? I don't have enough power on my own to do that. I know. I'll find the ancient weapons. I'll get the ancient weapons. Then I'll be able to defeat Whitebeard and the Emperors for sure. And then I can find Laugh Tale. And then I could get the One Piece, okay? So that led him down the path, which eventually would lead to him setting up his base at Alabasta in Rain Base in the, Rain Dinners Casino, and meeting Nico Robin and Mrs. All Sunday. It was like, all right, now I have this organization. I have somebody that can read poneglyphs. I know there's a poneglyph here in Alabasta. I have to start this revolution. I'll set myself up as the hero of the town, of the island, and then I'll find the poneglyph, and then I'll find Pluton, and then, Whitebeard won't know what hit him, that kind of thing, okay? Now, that plan, of course, went completely to shit because, the Straw Hats showed up, Vivi, everybody worked together there, and they were able to beat down Crocodile, and he got sent to Impel Down, okay? So then, after the war, after Marineford, after Whitebeard died, him and Daz Bones go into the New World, and I like to think that, yeah, like I said in the review, he was just building up money and, more than anything, information, okay? Because Crocodile is a man that he tried the direct approach and it didn't work, and then he tried building up this organization, Baroque Works, and that didn't work, so he's not the kind of guy that's going to do the same exact thing all over again. Like, I'm going to make Baroque Works again, and I'm just going to get the gang back together. That's not going to help. He has to try something different this time, okay? So, allying with Buggy, I mean, you could say whatever you want about that, but it's certainly something different, okay? He's like, wait a second here, last time I set myself up as the boss of an organization, and that didn't work out too well. And you know what? Honestly, you could say there was some problems with that because, yeah, he was a warlord who should be working for the government as like a privateer, but then he was also setting himself up as Mr. Zero, who was, the head of Baroque Works and who was a pirate breaking the law and everything like that. So he was sort of living this double life, which maybe at the time made sense, but like now he's like, okay, that's not going to work. I can't do that again. I tried to ally with the government and that got me nowhere. So now I'm going to try something different. I'm going to ally with a current Yonko. Except this works great. In fact, I bet you as soon as Crocodile looked in the paper, maybe, and he saw Buggy's rise to prominence where he became a warlord, and everybody, because Crocodile knows full well, he's one of the few people in the world that actually understands how weak Buggy truly is, and how he is mostly just bluster and bravado and just silver-tongued and everything like that, but he does not have the strength to back it up. But he does have the backstory because he used to be on Roger's crew, so I bet you Crocodile was reading the newspaper, and yeah, he's interested in what Luffy's up to. Luffy's out there fighting against Yonko and everything, but I bet Crocodile was always more interested in Buggy because it's a way to gain more power in the world. He's reading the paper. He's like, Captain Buggy, the bombastic clown, the clever jester or whatever. He's defying all expectations. He used to be on Roger's ship, and everybody in the world is buying it. So Crocodile's looking at this and he's like, holy shit. Everyone in the world thinks that this idiot clown is like this brilliant schemer and he's super powerful and he's like the next person like in line for emperor status or whatever. Like even before Buggy was announced as an emperor, I bet Crocodile could have assumed like, you know what? This idiot clown might actually end up being the emperor someday just by virtue of everybody buying into this nonsense, right? So Crocodile's like, I'm like one of the few people in the entire world that understands what Buggy is really about. I could manipulate him, or I could use him, okay? So I bet Crocodile was gathering all the information he needed, gathering as much money as possible, him and Dazbones both, up and down the New World. Then when the time seemed right, which I'm feeling was the moment when the government announced the warlord system was abolished. I think that was the moment Crocodile made his move. I think it was like he opens the paper in the morning with his morning coffee, and he's like, how do you think Crocodile drinks his coffee? I don't know. Anyway, he's looking at the paper, and he's like, warlord system abolished. The Marines to send all these battleships to bring in the former emperors of the sea. This is my moment, right? If I can get to Buggy first, and I could manipulate him, and I can use my scheming and his charisma, we could actually go somewhere with this, okay? So I think that's what happened. I think maybe it's even possible Crocodile might have helped Buggy escape from Kalibali Island, right? Or rather, Crocodile was heading there as well with Daz, and he's like, okay, all right, we need to meet Buggy before he gets away from Kalibali Island. We need to get him away, and then we need to explain the plan to him, okay? And so at the end of the day, Crocodile was way stronger than Buggy. Same thing with Dazbones. So if anything else, they could just use threat of force. They could just be like, all right, listen up, you stupid clown. This is the plan. All right, this is the plan. And, Crocodile takes his cigar out, and he's like, we're going to start a new organization, all right? You're going to be the head of it. I'm going to be working from behind the scenes. You're going to do everything I say. And if Buggy said anything like, oh, that's not fair, I want to be the head of the organization, we could have just had a moment where, Mr. One, and then Dazbones just makes a sword arm. He just like holds Buggy and just like, that's not going to work on me, right? And just like, all right, fair enough. And then Crocodile just reaches out and just like, okay, he's like drying out Buggy, turning him into a mummy of like, sorry, I forgot that, yeah. So it doesn't matter. I mean, there's no way Buggy would have been able to get out of that. You know what I mean? It's just like Crocodile and Dazbones are there, right? So yeah, Buggy would have been like, okay, fine, I'll do whatever you say. Like, I still get to be the head of it, right? Yeah, you still get to be the head of it. In fact, I'm happy with everybody thinking you're the new emperor of the sea, because now Crocodile's doing something different. He's not he's technically at the head of it, but he's not. It's technically Buggy that's really the one that's going to get all of the attention, right? And worst comes to worst, if this really goes just completely belly up, Crocodile can just skip out, and the Marines are going to be going after Buggy. Because if it's a choice between the Marines are like, all right, men, Crocodile's escaping that way and Buggy's escaping that way. Who do we follow? Who do you have to say? Buggy, because he's the emperor, right? So if worse comes to worse, Crocodile could probably get off scot-free, whereas Buggy gets all of the freaking blame for this, right? So that's the new plan. That's what Crocodile's going for. It's actually kind of ingenious when you really think about it. I was on a collab yesterday with Randy Troy. Go check that out. I'll put it up in a card up here or whatever. But we were talking about this a little bit, and it's just like, yeah, you know, Crocodile is like, yes, he is manipulating Buggy, but Buggy does bring something to the table. It's not like Buggy is just a like a figurehead that has nothing more beyond that. Like he's just there as like a scapegoat to be attacked while everybody else gets away. No, he does bring something to the table, and that's he's the marketing department, right? He's advertising, basically. You know what I mean? He's the one that's like, you know, join the Cross Guild. We're putting heads on all the Marines. We're putting bounties on all the Marines' heads. You know, it's like that. He's the one that's gonna rile everybody up. He's the one that's gonna draw it. He's the he's the bombastic clown. He's the one that brings the pizzazz to this organization, you know? And that's a word you don't get to use very often, pizzazz. I want you all just to say it right now. So that's Crocodile and Buggy. I like to think Crocodile was the one that was the brains behind this entire operation, and he just happened to meet Buggy, and then he told him what happened, and then that's how the Cross Guild started, okay? Now, what about Mihawk? I don't think Mihawk had so much of a role in, like, you know, like a master plan or anything, like he like organized this from the beginning, because that doesn't seem to be like Mihawk's style, okay? And I'll just keep with it like I said before. I think Mihawk, you know, he was excited at first to be hunted by the Marines now that the warlords were abolished, and he was like, okay, I guess I'm gonna leave my island now, and I'll like fight some Marines and slice them down. But I think he got rather bored with it, or rather annoyed after a few days of that, a few weeks of being on the run. He's like, oh man, this really sucks, because the Marines aren't really, unless they send admirals after him, they're not really going to be much of a threat. You know what I mean? Like, you know, Mihawk can just slice apart, you know, like even if they sent 30 battleships at Mihawk, he could probably slice all them apart before lunchtime. You know what I mean? Like they're not going to be able to do anything to him, right? Unless you send an admiral, right? So maybe he just got bored and he's like, okay, I need to join some other organization. I need to find some other organization to join, because, like, if I'm just on my own, they're just going to keep coming after me. This is irritating. I don't even have any time to myself. You know, I used to live in a castle. I swirl my wine. I was getting kind of bored with that even, but now I kind of wish I could go back to that. You know what I mean? So I like to think Crocodile and Buggy might have embarked on some sort of advertising campaign where Buggy was at the head of that, and he was like, you know, Crocodile was telling him what to say, but, you know, Buggy was like jazzing it up a little bit. And then Mihawk found out about this, and Mihawk's like, I'd like to join your organization, you know? And then so Buggy and Crocodile are like, well, Crocodile would be like, absolutely, you know, you're super strong. And also also Crocodile and Mihawk know each other from being members of the Warlords. And Mihawk is somebody that's like super neutral when it comes to, like, he's not evil, he's not good. You really get the impression that Mihawk is just out for himself, you know what I mean? He really doesn't have any major goals other than just, like, going where he wants to go, doing what he wants to do, living his life the way he wants to live it. You know, meeting strong swordsmen that can challenge him, that's certainly a thing. But beyond that, he doesn't want to find the One Piece, he doesn't want to become an emperor. You know, he only became a warlord just because he could basically do what he wanted. That's what Mihawk's all about. So I think out of all of the warlords, you know, more so than like Weevil or Boa or anybody, Crocodile sees Mihawk wanting to join, and he's like, yeah, we don't have to worry about this guy double-crossing us, or like he's gonna stab us in the back or anything like that. Like, this dude is really just out for his own agenda. You know what I mean? So I guess at worst, if the Cross Guild was falling apart anyway, Mihawk would just skip out. He would just leave. But he's not gonna be like, he's not gonna like stab Buggy in the back or stab Crocodile in the back and be like, I will be the new leader of this organization. Like, that's not Mihawk's style. If he's not happy with the way it is, he's just gonna leave. You know what I mean? So, and I still like to think that it is canon that Mihawk is the one that came up with the name of the organization, because it's Cross Guild, you know what I mean? Like, that is such a cool name. I refuse to believe that Buggy came up with it. Crocodile probably doesn't really give, well, I don't know, because he named his organization Baroque Works. That's a pretty fancy kind of name. So maybe it was Crocodile and Mihawk that worked together, or after Mihawk joined, Crocodile was like, let's call it Cross Guild. And you know what? It might not even be a name just for the sake of a name. it might be like, hey, Mihawk has, like, he has the cross necklace, which is actually a sword or a little dagger, and he also has Yoru, which is in the shape of a cross, and he also sails around in his coffin boat, which the sail looks like a giant cross. So maybe it was like that was even planned. It was like Mihawk joins, Crocodile and Mihawk put their heads together, like, why don't we call ourselves the Cross Guild? Because, you know, crosses are your thing. Everybody's going to associate the strongest swordsman in the world with crosses. Call ourselves the Cross Guild. And then that, like, lets it be known to the entire world that, like, we got Dracul Mihawk working for us. You know what I mean? Like, you better step back, okay? So that might even be, like, an advertisement that was planned, not just because it sounded cool, but because it's so associated with Mihawk's, like, image. You know what I mean? So there's that. So who are some other possible members of the Cross Guild? Now, these are the videos, like Randy made a video about this, and we talked about that a little bit yesterday, so I'm not going to go into full detail. I'm more interested in what they're like. What are their stocks? Do they have stocks? Can I buy some stocks for the Cross Guild? how's the market going right now with the Cross Guild stocks? You know, Big Mom and Kaido stocks are way down right now. So if you didn't sell, he's like, you gotta buy those stocks. You know, the Kaido and Big Mom stocks, they're going all the way down into the hole, ladies and gentlemen. All right, this actually, you know what? You remember those shows back? I don't even know if they're still on, but I remember watching, like, those shows back in, like, the mid-2000s, like when I was in high school and stuff. I didn't know anything about stocks or the stock market or anything. But, you know, they were, like, some dude sitting at a desk with, like, a bunch of random shit, and he'd, like, push a button. He'd be like, ding, 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 it's time to sell. And he's like, you push another button. He's like, I guess this stock is dead. I have the setup. I could do this. I have the whole, like, the stocks are in the hole, and Barry's recommendation for the day. It's like, buy bubbly stocks, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know. So, yeah, it's kind of like that. I don't know where I was going with this, but let's talk about potential members. Okay, so the first group I wrote down on here was the former members of Baroque Works, just because, you know, Crocodile's got a connection to them. Okay, and also, if Buggy did join up with Crocodile, we now have Galdino, Mr. 3, now working again for Crocodile, which is really funny. He just can't escape that dude. It's hilarious. But, you know, the other members of Baroque Works, okay, so we have Mr. 4 and Miss Merry Christmas, Miss Golden Week, who was the previous partner of Mr. 3, then we have Mr. 5 and Miss Valentine, and we have Lasso, who was the dog gun, okay? And we actually all know what happened to them. They actually had their own cover story, Miss Golden Week's Meet Baroque operation, and so they all ended up living together on an island somewhere in paradise, I believe, and they opened up a new spider cafe. So the question is, like, are they happy with their new lives? Are they happy running this cafe? Or would they want to get back in the game again? Would they want to, you know, join Baroque Works again or the Cross Guild and work for Crocodile once more? I would honestly say no. I would say that they, like, oh, no way in hell. You know, we did this once and it blew up in our faces and we all got sent to jail, but we managed to escape by the skin of our teeth. We don't want to go down this road again, you know, we don't want to try this again, right? So they might just stay at the Spider Cafe. Maybe, you know, Crocodile showed up one day and he's like, do you want to join? And they're all like, no way, we don't want to, we don't want to go back down that road again, right? And I think a lot of the Baroque Work members, like especially Zala, who is Mrs. Doublefinger, I think she's really happy being Paula, being just the lady that runs the cafe. And then all the other Baroque Works members with the rainbow colors from, you know, Miss Golden Week, they were able to realize their dreams, you know. So Miss Merry Christmas is a princess, and Mr. 4 is a pizza delivery man, and Mr. 5 is a firefighter, you know. And it's just like, we're happy, we're living our dreams, and we're like running this cafe on this island, you know. So we don't want to join again, but who knows, maybe they will. Maybe they're like, yeah, this cafe was fun, but we're not getting any business, so we'll just join up with you, you know. Once a member of Baroque Works, always member of Baroque Works, I suppose, you know. Who knows? I'm not sure. Mr. 2, by the way, Bon Clay, he's still in Impel Down, so we don't know anything about him if he would join. Probably not. He's happy being the head of New Kamaland. Dazbones obviously is a member. We already know that. I wrote down Kuro and Krieg. I'm sorry. Krieg! Because, you know, we haven't seen anything of them since their arcs in the East. And honestly, the Cross Guild would probably be a great way if Oda wants to take a bunch from previous arcs and just throw them together. When I was on Randy's video yesterday, he mentioned Foxy, and I hate Foxy so damn much. He's like my least favorite character in the entire story. I think that's fair to say, yeah. And then he's like, well, maybe Foxy joined, and I'm like, oh god, no. Which is funny because Foxy never shows up again in the manga. He only shows up as a villain, and like he shows up in like anime fillers and movies and OVAs, but he never shows up again in the manga, and I really hope it stays that way. I hope we never see Foxy again in this story. Or like, how about this? The last shot of One Piece. The last shot of the entire manga is Foxy's grave. And then it's just the sunset over Foxy's grave, and then One Piece. The end. I would weep. I would weep, ladies and gentlemen. All right. But Kuro, I mean, he was the genius pirate of 100 plans or 1,000 plans or however many plans he planned. You know what I mean? And now he's a pirate again, and we don't know anything about him. He's not happy being a pirate. Maybe joining up with this organization. Like, I can honestly see Kuro and Crocodile working together. Because Crocodile's like the Bond villain. He's not like a standard pirate that just goes in and burns things down and like, yarg, I be a pirate. You know, Crocodile's like the cool, collected, like, welcome to the organization, you know, that kind of thing, right? So I can see Kuro and Crocodile actually working together. It's not really that much of a stretch. Krieg, I could sort of see Krieg working together with Buggy a little bit, because Buggy might know about Krieg's pirate armada. Like, you know, Buggy might actually think Krieg is really powerful. He might be like, oh, that's Captain, you know, Don Krieg of the Krieg pirates. He's got this huge armada of pirate ships and everything. You know, Buggy might be like, man, he was even more formidable than me in the East. He's the man we need in this organization. When in reality, he's just an idiot. He's just a blowhard, basically, right? But, you know, maybe Krieg and Kuro could join back up. Krieg could be more of like security or like the muscle in the organization, and Kuro could be more of the planner, like with Crocodile. Arlong I wrote down, but I don't think Arlong, because I'm pretty sure Arlong was captured and now he is a slave at Marijua. I am betting dollars to donuts on that right now, that Arlong is a slave somewhere alongside Karubi and Chu. And Hachi was able to get away, but the other ones, because we didn't see them in Impel Down, so they might be at Marijua running that travel Vader, like, conveyor belt thing for all we know, right? And so they might escape at some point, and they might have to go work with the revolutionaries in order to get out of Marijua, or maybe they'll fight against the government a little bit, who knows. But I don't think Arlong would join. I wrote down a Rouge, just because we don't know anything about a Rouge right now. We know last time we saw a Rouge was like hundreds of chapters ago. He was at Balloon Terminal, and we just don't know anything about him. And he's like the one supernova that we've had like nothing really established, other than the fact he fought against Big Mom, he defeated Snack, and then Cracker beat the shit out of him. That's like all we know about a Rouge. So yeah, let's have a Rouge. Let's have a Rouge join the Cross Guild, for God's sake. I also had somebody say that because a Rouge has the tattoo with the flames, he might be the man marked by flames. It's like, okay, fine, I don't care. I just want a Rouge to be back in the story again. You know what I mean? So a Rouge is a possibility. I wrote down former members of the Big Mom family, just because now that Big Mom is gone, she's like, I don't know if she's back at Totland, but she's certainly defeated. She's not an emperor anymore. Her territory is probably an upheaval right now. Like, there's probably a mass exodus from Totland right now. Like, all the citizens that were living there that weren't, they were just regular people. They weren't members of Big Mom's crew. They were just regular civilians living in Totland under the security blanket of Big Mom. They might be packing their stuff and just leaving. It's like, let's get the hell out of here, because the government, you know, Big Mom's no longer a Yonko. We don't know what happened to her. All the other, like members like are back in Wano. They were defeated. Perospero is not here. You know, we're getting the hell out of Dodge. You know, we're leaving. You know, we don't know what's going to happen. The Marines might just swoop in and like, you know, we're done, you know. And maybe the citizens are worried because like, are we going to get in trouble because we allied with an emperor? Like, we're out of here. We're living in Big Mom's territory. So they might be leaving. So maybe there's some former members of the family like Tamago that might be like, you know, oh, bonsoir, I got to leave. What does bonsoir mean in French? I don't know. So he's just like, I'm done. I'm leaving here. I'm going to go join up with this Cross Guild thing. You know what I mean? Like, I'm out of here. Different career opportunities, right? So maybe some former members of the Big Mom family. I also wrote down former members of Dofi's family, but I think they're all in Impel Down. I think like Doflamingo's definitely in level 6. Pika, Diamante, if he's still alive, because he hit his head pretty hard on Scarlet's grave, but he's probably still alive. Treble, maybe Gladys. I think they're all thrown into Impel Down in the various levels. But if there's ever a prison break, you know, maybe they might join the Cross Guild. Who knows? And then like Baby 5 is living in the West with Sai and the Kano Kingdom, so she's not going to join the Cross Guild or anything. I think Buffalo is straight up dead. But anyway, yeah. So I'm just writing down some like former members of organizations that we haven't seen in a while, and they might, because this is Oda's opportunity to take all these former villains, anybody he wants to utilize in the story. He could probably come up with a reason why they would come to the Cross Guild. Like, even though we haven't seen anything from Kuro in like over 1,000 chapters, it actually might be that much, because we don't see anything from Kuro after the arc, after Syrup Village. There's a little bit more in the anime, but beyond that, we don't get anything from him in the manga, right? So it might be like 1,000 chapters since we've seen Kuro. But anyway, yeah, he could take Kuro and have him join the Cross Guild. I think it would fit fine. You know what I mean? I think it would work perfectly fine. So yeah. Yeah, that's the idea. Shadowy individuals maybe joining the Cross Guild. Who are they going to be? Ooh. Actually, in the thumbnail of this video, if I move the text out of the way, I just threw in shadowy members of the Phantom Troop from Hunter x Hunter in the thumbnail. So, hey, you know what? Hunter x Hunter, well, it's still on hiatus, but, you know, that's what they were doing while it was on hiatus. They skipped over to the One Piece world, and they were working for Crocodile and Buggy and Mihawk. Actually, that would not be a bad video to do a crossover battle on the members of the Phantom Troop versus, like, the Warlords or the Emperors in One Piece and see how the power would work between Devil Fruits and Nen. That's actually not a bad video idea. I might do that. Anyway, that's the video. Thanks for watching. Hope you all enjoyed. And invest in Cross Guild stock, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, absolutely. All right, now we're moving on to everybody's favorite segment, Komodo Dragon Facts.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so for this installment of Komodo Dragon Facts, you know, Komodo dragons, despite being very large lizards that could easily probably kill a human being, they're endangered. They're an endangered species. There's only about, well, there's 3 major islands in Indonesia where they live, and that's Komodo Island, as we mentioned previously, Padar Island, and Rinca Island, okay? Now, those are the 3 major ones. There's like 26 other, like, really small islands around those 3 where Komodo dragons live, and that makes up Komodo National Park in Indonesia, which is a tourist attraction, so you can go over there and see the Komodo dragons in their national habitat. And they're a national habitat, natural habitat. It is their national habitat, kind of. As we mentioned, they used to be from Australia, but they were wiped out there about 50,000 years ago, so they are endangered. And just because of, you know, human intervention, habitat loss, I think it's disproportional. So there's more males than there are females in their community, and that makes a problem because you can't get more Komodo dragons right there if there's not as many females on the islands. Their numbers are declining, but not too bad. There were about 3,200 Komodo dragons in 2014, and then that number went down to 3,014 as we're at right now. So we lost about 200 of them. So there's still like around 3,000 Komodo dragons in the world, but if, you know, the numbers continue on this trend and keep going down and down, there's not going to be any more of them. There is a Komodo Dragon Conservation Network if you would like to check that out. I'll throw a link in there down in the description if you want to check out how you can help out the Komodo dragons of the world. And most of them, you know, like they look like terrifying lizards that will like attack you, but honestly, like most animals, like if they see a human, they're going to bolt. They're going to run. They're not going to immediately run over and attack you. If they're cornered or if they're defending, you know, like they're young or whatever, they might bite you or whatever. But for the most part, like if you're walking on a beach and a Komodo dragon sees you, it's probably just going to run away in the opposite direction. Poaching is also an issue because poachers will sometimes come to these islands, steal, you know, Komodo dragons away from their habitat, either, you know, sell them off on the black market for like pets, like exotic pets or whatever, or to like skin them for their hide. You know, so that's messed up. So yeah, that's the situation with Komodo dragons right now. They're not in like immediate danger of going extinct, but their numbers are dwindling, and who knows, maybe in like 100 years or something, there's only going to be a few of them left. So anyway, that's the Komodo dragon fact for today. Thanks for watching, everybody. This will be Tekking and Barry signing out. Later, everyone.